Welcome to Whisky and Wool. My name is Shannon, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Whisky and Wool, as well as here on YouTube. There's extra O's in wool for Instagram if you're looking for me there. This is a episode about a channel, really, about knitting and spinning. Occasionally I sew, though I haven't sewed in a year. That could change anytime, who knows? I'm going to take you over to a little whiskey chat, as I always begin most of my episodes with a whiskey chat. But before we go there, I just want to tell you that the baby is not born yet. She is still in the womb, and she's due this week. So probably by the next time I do an episode, she'll be here. So yep, still waiting. We're still on baby watch. All right, on to the whiskey chat. I'm going to actually be recording this later today, so I'm going to send you into the future to listen to me for about 5 to 10 minutes chatting about a whiskey, and I'll see you soon. Hi there. I'm going to do a little whiskey chat for you. We're going to talk about kind of a unique one this time around. I'm actually in my bedroom, and I have a little sitting area in my bedroom where I'm sitting today because I'm vacuuming while I'm doing this evening. I have the vacuum running in the other room, so this is a new setting for you. Anyway, we're going to do a unique whiskey today. This is one that I got from a club from Flavier, and it is called Port Askaig. I should have looked up how to say this before this. Askaig. Okay, I'll put in the pronunciation. Anyway, you've seen what it is. It is 110 proof, which means it is cask strength. And I have it poured in this is not my wee dram, this is my Deanston dram, because, Saturday evening. So yeah, you can see that it's very light colored. So here's the thing about, probably going to say this wrong, and my Scottish viewers are going to help me with this, but Port Askaig. Anyway, it is an actual town in Scotland, but it is not, there's no distillery there. So you can go visit the town, but you won't find any whiskey being distilled there. Instead, it is bottled by a specialty house in London. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head. If I find it, I will put it in the in a description bar for you right now. But basically it is small bottlings, anywhere from 2 to 40 bottles of an Islay whiskey, from one maker. And I couldn't find much about what this particular bottling is, and I'm not clear how many bottles they made of this exactly. If I figure that out, I will put information on screen when I'm looking it up and stuff, for when I'm doing the editing. But from what I saw about what I think I'm drinking, this is a American oak aged, so we should have some of those buttery, cakey flavors. Sorry, I just needed to check the recording, make sure it was working. We should have some of those, but because it's an Islay whiskey, we would also anticipate that there'd be some peaty, smoky flavors as well. I am going to give it a taste. There's not any history really to talk about, because it's not an actual distillery. It sounded like this might be from the distillery Ardbeg, which I've done. I think I've done a chat on them before, but if I haven't, I'm sure to do another one soon. Yeah, all right, let's see what it is. Okay, so right away you smell a lot of the smoke Yeah, very smoky off the top. And something else, like maybe a hint of vanilla. It also has a sort of that buzzy alcohol scent as well, because it's a cask strength. So you may not know, but casks, the alcohol content in a cask is often quite high, much higher than what is the usual alcohol content. So 40% alcohol content, around 40, 42, 48. It's not ever exact. Is the usual content, alcohol content of a bottle of whiskey. So they add water to get a lower alcohol content. When it's cask strength, that means that it's coming out of the cask without being watered down. And in this case, it's 55% alcohol instead of the usual 40-ish. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Oh, wow. Now I've added, strong. You can taste the alcohol. I've added a bit of water, just a couple drops like I always do. And I'm going to drink the whole glass that way, just with a few drops of water, but I'll be drinking it slowly. It does have, you do get the alcohol buzz. And by buzz, I mean like in your mouth, like there's sort of this burn or buzz of alcohol. Strong, yes. So the American oak comes through. You get this sort of pastry flavor, like vanilla, butter, sugary flavors. There's something at the end that I can't put my finger on. I almost want to say it tastes like the sea, like sort of salty seawater, something like that. I think that sums it up for me. The smoke, buttery, like pastry cookies, vanilla cookies or something like that, like vanilla sugar cookies. And at the end, there's this salty, sort of briny taste, almost like an olive, but not with the bitterness that an olive has, just this briny, salty taste, which would make sense for an island whiskey that's being aged near the sea. You'd get those flavors would be, from the sea air would be imparted into the whiskey. So it's really interesting. Let's see. So this is one, since I got it from Flavier, I do have a tasting wheel, which I didn't look closely at. Ooh, they say apple. So there you go. Smoke, apple, cinnamon, sweet. Oh, so, okay, good. I was on track with that. Is vanilla on there? I don't see vanilla. What does that say? Liquid ice, and at the end, savory. Clove is in there, spice. No vanilla. But there is sweet with spicy, and the apple. Okay, and they're not saying that there's briny. Trust me, there's brine. There's brine at the end of this one anyway. So apple and cinnamon. So this is very autumnal, this whiskey. I can taste apple now that I know it's supposed to be there. Isn't it the truth? Like, that's how it works. So often our brains, that's the way they work. What was I going to say about the sweetness really comes through. Like, you can really, the smoky sweet. I get a lot of smoky sweet. And this, it's hard for me sometimes to differentiate between the burn of the alcohol and the burn that spices would give you. So when they're saying spicy, I'm not sure if they're talking about the burn. Oh, the last thing I just want to say before I send you back to past me to talk about wool. It's unclear to me that if every bottle, so what, I know that they do 40 bottles or so, but do they call it something different, or is it all called this 110 proof? I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if you would get the same, like, bottle to bottle of this Port Askaig. I think 110 proof if you would get the exact same flavor profile that I'm getting. I mean, this one, I know it came with this, so that's how I know that I'm drinking it. Otherwise, I don't think I would know for sure. So a unique whiskey for you on this beautiful autumnal day. And hopefully I've put some footage in of the autumn leaves. I'll see you next time. Okay, you're back. I am wearing a new t-shirt that I got from Joji and Company. She is, if you're not familiar, Joji Locatelli is a knitwear designer who has opened her own business where they make these adorable, high-quality leather bags for knitting. This is like a sock size knit bag or baby knit. I have several project bags of hers that you will see on and off throughout not just this episode but others. But anyway, my last purchase, I got this t-shirt. I mentioned it last time and I said I'll show you this time, and I just decided to put it on because we are having it's a very beautiful fall day. It's about 70 degrees outside. I'm in shorts still. I had jeans on earlier today as it was very cold, but it's warm now. I have the window open too. It's just beautiful. The trees are turning. It's a wonderful, beautiful New England fall day. I live in northern New Jersey, if you're new here, so that is where I'm coming to you from. Not very far from New York City, where I have 3 adult sons that all live in the city, and one son is expecting his first baby. We know it's a girl. Which brings me to my finished objects. I have 2 of them. Martha's wearing one, which I'll tell you about that in a second. The other finished object I have is a rainbow baby blanket that I've been working on for the last few episodes. I don't have it. I gave it to the expectant parents, and it is waiting the arrival of my granddaughter. I copied Amy of Stranded Dyeworks. I copied her Marled Rainbow Baby blanket that she was doing. It was a real true comfort knit. It was so fun to knit because, as you're marling, you're getting this color change, and it was just a simple garter stitch. So easy. I hope I'm putting pictures on as I'm talking about it. I took a ton of pictures before it headed over there. When you last saw it, I think I had just gotten up to the green change. So I finished the entire green, turquoise, blue, purple knitting, and took that over to them. So that was so fun. I will definitely be doing more of these rainbow marled knits because it was just a delight to do. And I'm getting braver with minis. Like, I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time admiring minis but not buying them because I was like, what can you do with them? But actually, so I had an advent calendar from 2019 that was 24 minis, 20 gram 24 gram 20 gram minis from Sweet Nesting Fiber. They were beautiful. She does a lot of really bright colors, which I love. The set of 24 that I ended up getting, I opened one every day. I vlogged them in my Vlogmas. The set I ended up getting was really heavy pink, which we didn't know then that there was going to be a baby this year. We certainly didn't know she was going to be a girl. So these little pink minis have been really awesome to knit things for Juliana, who is going to be here soon. Sorry, I probably have said that like 6 times. It's my first grandchild. All right. So yes, beautiful rainbow marled blanket. I ended up using as the base of it, if this is your first time tuning in, to sort of set the pace for the rainbow. I used 6 50-gram skeins from a Pride set, Gay Pride set that I bought in June from Neighborhood Fiber Company. That is the loveliest part for knitters about Gay Pride, is that rainbow Pride sets come out. You can find rainbow sets other times too. but there seems to be a lot to choose from right around Gay Pride, which is at the beginning. No, it's really kind of the whole month of June. So I used that as a basis for this particular baby blanket, and then just worked in a bunch of minis. So those were 50 grams each, 6 of them. So that was 300 grams. The entire blanket ended up weighing 800 grams. It turned out to be much bigger. I have a picture of it at the end of my bed, which you probably already saw. I took a bunch of them. So it turned out to be much longer than I expected. It ended up being about 40 by 60, I'd say, or 60, 64 even. But nevertheless, the parents were thrilled, so that's all that matters. Anyway, moving on. I have a lot to talk to you about today, so I'm going to try to keep this going. Martha is wearing the Chrysalis, is that the right word? Chrysalis Kounty, I'm going to put it on screen, Kounty Shawl, which is part of the Flutter and Fly shawl along that is held by, do I have the document here? I don't know what I did with it. It is hosted by Christy Glassnitz. This is their third shawl along that they're doing for Rhinebeck. So Rhinebeck would normally fall on, actually I think they're doing a virtual Rhinebeck at this point. And that is next weekend. It would be the weekend after Columbus Day weekend. So normally we'd be going, and we would be all meeting up and posing with our shawls. This is the purple hair streak colorway. It is a 2-color shawl. Let me see if I can spin Martha around so you can get a better look at the pattern. So pretty easy knit. It's knit on US size 9 needles, which is a 5.5 millimeter needle. So quite big. It was a little slow in the lace portion, but once I got the hang of it, it went much faster. But it's basically just a lot of garter and some stockinette, and then this really cute picot edge, which was much easier than I anticipated. The difficult part of the picot edge was blocking it and pinning every point out. That took a while. Putting those pins in and taking them back out again. But yeah, it's super cozy, big, drapey shawl. I ended up doing a couple extra rows here and in this section here, just because I wanted to use up all the yarn. So I ended up, it was a 4 skein project, and this is what I have left of the 4th skein, so it's quite big. I used every last bit of that brown by doing just 2 extra rows in this section. Actually, I did 2 extra stripes right here in this section. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. I'm reluctant to take it off of Martha. Yeah, so see, this section here was supposed to be, you were supposed to end it here, and I just did this extra, an up and back with the brown, and then another up and back with the purple. But I liked it. I liked how there were 5 of these purple ridges versus 4 with the way the pattern was written. So that was the only mod I did. So I ended up getting about that much longer on either side, maybe that much longer total. So like a couple extra, what do you call it? These, I actually really love the way this end curls up. It's so cute. Can you see it? See how it curls up? It naturally, just the way it knit, it just curled. It does it on both sides. It's really, really cute. I haven't worn it yet because it's still, actually I almost wore it this morning because it was a little chilly, and I went out to get my hair cut, and which is why it looks so nice, because I sure as heck can't make it look so styled and nice the way my hairdresser can. So expect it to be a poofy mess again next time. So yeah, I almost grabbed it, and then I was like, no, I need to show my viewers first, so you get to see it before I wear it. Yeah. Pretty fast knit. Somebody knitted in 3 days when I was like perusing the projects, because I was a little I was a little thrown off by the fact that there was so much of this yarn left. Like, so I think I only used maybe about 10 or 15% of this skein. So, I mean, honestly, this is enough for a hat, so I could make a matching hat. I probably will. I get into hat mode like right around mid-November because I just start making a bunch of hats for Christmas gifts, which I have some planned that I'm going to show you later. So yeah, those are my two FOs, the baby blanket and the shawl. I'm glad I finally have something for Martha to wear. It's been a while. I think it's going to continue to be a while because I'm doing a few bottom-up projects. So let me give you an update on the Spark cardigan. I have my 2 sleeves done now, and they're quite different. I'm actually kind of okay with it. So I think last time, I am not kind of okay, I am okay with the fact that they look a little different. Last time, this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. Okay, this pattern. This is the Spark cardigan by Andrea Mowry. It's a pattern that came out fairly recently. I would say like maybe August or so. I think a knit along just ended. I'm a little late to the party because I really didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to knit it out of, and I just kind of let things sit when I'm trying to think about knitting a new project. I kind of like think about things, and I always try to find yarn in my stash to use, and I'm spinning yarn, so often I'm spinning with purpose, so like I'll have a particular project in mind when I'm spinning yarn. And this one, what happened was I ended up getting, is this it? I ended up getting this beautiful Wing and a Prayer Farm 100% Cormo naturally dyed yarn from Tammy. She was doing a little, she had done a shop update, and then she, you know, of course she's losing a lot of income because of the fiber festivals not happening. So I shopped her update and purchased, she was on my list actually for, here, let me show you the info. She was on my list for Vogue Knitting Live, and I ended up not getting any of her yarn and regretted it. So I've been wanting to get this for a while. Vogue Knitting Live was January. So, there we go. Okay, there you go. 100% Cormo, and you can see the sheep's names on there. She has 8 Cormo sheep. They're all listed up here. The colorway is called Old Fashioned Rose Petal. It's got pretty good yardage. Knits like a DK weight. I don't know if it has this particular weight that it's considered. My sleeves keep falling down. So anyway, yeah, I finished the sleeves. Finished them a few days ago. You can see that they're quite different. One is primarily turquoisey blue with some gold in there and a little bit of rust, and a little rust at the little burgundy at the beginning. And this one's mostly rusty. But, you know, that's just the way the yarn goes. You know, that's the way that yarn transitions. I looked closely at other people's projects to see whether or not other people were getting good matches. And I think when you see the whole body knit, there's going to be a blending of these colors, so I think it'll be fine. The contrast yarn is part of my own hand spun, so it's this right here. It's 100% Targhee. It's really super soft. It is a 3-ply. I talked all about how I spun this in a spinning video, and on it there was a comment about how I should have done a fractal spin. So hang on to that, because when I get to spinning, I'm going to talk to you about that fractal spinning. I didn't realize that you could fractal spin a 3-ply. I thought fractal spinning was just 2-ply. So I'll tell you more about that in a little bit when I get to spinning. Oh, I have also, so what I did actually to knit those sleeves, I pulled from the center, and it was the more turquoise, and then I pulled from the outside, and that was how I ended up with more rust. I thought that if I kept pulling from the center for the second sleeve that it would end up being rusty, but that probably would have been better because there is more turquoise in there, I think. Who knows? It doesn't matter, right? I mean, there's a limited amount of this contrast yarn. I have also, with this sweater, so with this sweater, what you do, if you're not familiar with the Spark Cardigan by Andrea Mowry, you begin knitting the sleeves, as you saw, and then you start knitting the body. So I have started the body. I'm really I literally did like 2 rows of color work last night. So I just started. You do that same zigzag pattern, and most of the body will be these dots and dashes. And you have this beautiful big 4x4 rib. This is a pattern that you steek. Andrea has you knit that rib in the round and then you would steek through the rib, but I didn't want to do that. There's no reason, because the reason you steek is so that you can knit every row and you're not knitting back and forth. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, especially for color work. So steeking is really the way to go if you're making a color work cardigan. It really does help. So I just decided not to bother with the steeking rows. So the steeking rows are here in the center, and this is where the cut will happen. I also find that the ribbing, like on the last color work cardigan that I made was her stone crop cardigan, and very loud bird over there. I think it's a cardinal. We have a lot of cardinals around here. Those bright red birds are so beautiful. Anyway, I did the stone crop and I did the exact same thing. I didn't steek through. I didn't do steeking stitches through the ribbing. It just seemed to make no sense to me, and I have no regrets, because what I'll end up doing on the inside of the cardigan, I'll put ribbon over the top of the edges that I'll steek. So, and I think the ribbon ending before the ribbing makes sense. I almost wore that cardigan, actually, not because of any of this, but I almost wore that today for the podcast, or for recording this episode, because I just thought it would be cold, but it turns out it's not. It's hot. It's actually warm. So anyway, I'm on my way. So hopefully next time I see you, I'll have quite a lot of the color work done. And yeah, maybe it'll be big enough that I can pin it to Martha somewhere on there. Yay. Yay. So that is that project. That is one whip that I'm working on. The other whip that got most of my time is a gift. I'm gift knitting now. I'm in gift knitting mode. This is a gift for one of my sons. I had to double check that he wasn't watching my episodes, and he's not, nor is his significant other. His partner is not either, so that's great, because I have made quite a lot of progress. I had showed this briefly. I actually cast this project on quite a while ago. I knit through the rib, and I knit into a little bit of the stockinette, and then I stopped and put it aside because I was working on a few other things that had deadlines. So like my Rhinebeck sweater, which was the shifty, this shawl, which also needed to be done in time for Rhinebeck, and a couple other things that I just wanted to get through. So I put this down and I didn't work on it. I want to show you now. Now I have been making lots of progress on it. This is a bottom-up knit, and it has a cable design, which I'll show you and talk to you about in a few minutes. I am knitting it in reverse stockinette. So you can see this is the inside is stockinette, the outside I have the purl side out, and that is so that the cabling stands out on it quite well. So I'm knitting in the round. I am knitting bottom up because this cable pattern is oh my gosh, am I going to be able to say this right? Do I know can I tell you the name of it? I've printed out the charts. I have them in here, which I'm not going to show you. But basically this is a dragon, and I think it's pronounced Tahisha the dragon. This is inspired by Christy Glass, who made this in hot pink for Rhinebeck last year, this sweater. She didn't make this sweater. She made the dragon on a sweater for Rhinebeck last year. And the dragon, which you can see I have a little bit of it knit here. This is the bottom of its tail, and this is the frame. This is like one of its coils. Yeah, it's coming along. It's pretty easy knitting too, and because most of it is this garter. Now I'm on the purl side. So what I, oh my goodness, this was kind of complicated. So what I ended up doing for this sweater, to get this sweater, I own the Go-To Raglan by Stephen West. I own that pattern. I had made it a couple years ago. So I decided to use that pattern as the body. The dragon pattern, you're just purchasing the dragon. So it's not on a sweater, it's not on anything. It's just a square. So if you knit the pattern as is, you'd end up with like a square that you could use, I guess, for a pillow or something. So this is so I needed to, and Christy talked all about this in hers, so it wasn't like I invented this. This is like, she trailblazed a path and I could follow it. So this idea that you come up with some other pattern for the body of the sweater and then place the dragon on it. So I figured out how big from my gauge, how big the dragon would be. I knew how many stitches across, like in the pattern. Once I got the pattern, I was able to see the stitches across and the rows, so I could figure out the placement. And if it places properly, it should be about like that. This boy, this son of mine, he's my middle son. He and I are almost the same size. He's a little bit taller than me, and of course he's shaped very differently. He's got a man shape, not a woman shape. But we pretty much wear the same size clothes. He actually might be a little, yeah, he's definitely more slender in hips than I am. But yeah, so I know that even though this is a woman shape, in terms of placement, where the cabling should be, I pretty much could eyeball it here, and I want it to end about right here, just above the armpit. So the armhole will begin about here, and I want it to go just slightly above that. So if all goes well, I should be knitting about 1.5 inches beyond where the armhole shaping starts. Yeah, okay. So the Go-To Raglan is top down. So I had to take that pattern and go in the reverse direction. So I will be doing the sleeves from here down, just like the pattern's written, but the rest of the body I'm knitting from the bottom up into the armhole. So I think I read through the pattern before I cast on, and I think I figured it out. Like basically where he says to increase, I'm going to be decreasing. And when I get to the sleeves, where you would split for sleeves, I will be splitting for sleeves, but in the opposite direction. I think I'm going to do a provisional cast on. So I'll crochet chains for either side, and then pick up the stitches in the crocheted chain. So then when I go to knit the sleeve, I'll have loops, like preformed loops to stitch straight down. I think that will give me the most seamless look, because I thought a lot about doing Kitchener or doing some other sort of, and I'm just not that handy. I'm just not that slick. I'm not like some of you sock knitters who Kitchener toes all the time and make them look perfect, seamless. I'm not that skilled because I don't make socks. So I would just, or mattress stitch, I guess I could do that. I just preferred to not have a seam or any look of a seam here. So I'm going to do the provisional crocheted loops that I'll then pick up my stitches using that, and then I'll be able to pull that out and thread right through the loops and just knit seamlessly down for the sleeves. So there's that. And then the dragon pattern, as I said, it's a square. So she means for you to knit back and forth, and the pattern is written. The pattern is actually, I was very scared to begin knitting it. I was very nervous, which was probably why this sat. I figured I knew I could figure it out, but I just thought I was nervous. I was just nervous because there was a lot of very complicated stitches, and the chart is just crazy with its icons and stuff. And there's like 3 pages of what each little icon means. And then there's there's a bunch of pictures. But when you put it all together, she writes the instructions. She has a chart. She charted the instructions. She has pictures of some of the more tricky stitches that you're doing. And she has written instructions, very detailed written instructions. The pattern's very well done. And because it's so well done, it actually made it easier for me to knit in the round instead of going back and forth. So when I get to a row that she has you work from the reverse side, I'm just following the chart across the same way you would on any chart. Like you're going right to left. So I'm just following each row right to left. I'm 1 row away from something that I think is going to be kind of tricky doing it that way. It's this where these 2 cables right here will overlap each other. They'll crisscross and then continue up. I'm a little nervous about that because I'm supposed to be beginning that cable from the reverse side. And yeah, I hope it works. I'll get through it. It might not be as slick looking as it was intended, but it'll happen nonetheless. The hardest part actually was just getting started, like starting the whole cable thing, because you're doing like these, what she calls I-cord cables, which I don't know if that's something that I'm not huge in cable knitting. I've done cables. I did a whole Aran sweater once, like years ago, but it's been a while since I've done cables. So I don't know if I-cord cables is a thing that other people do, but anyway, she calls them I-cord cables. So getting that I-cord cable started, the one that's right here on the bottom, that was the hardest part. Once I had that, it was easy to just like follow the chart in the round. So, and I'm going to just continue to knit in the round. The only other tricky thing that happened was that until I got up, I decided that I needed to knit about 8 inches to get to where I would position the dragon. And I was knitting inside out. So I was knitting in stockinette stitch, doing knit every row. And then when it got to the time that I needed to do the cable, start the cable, I needed to go back the other direction. So I think you'll be able to see if I point it out to you. Yeah, it's right here. There was this spot where I changed directions. So it's right there. You can see I actually ended up doing 1 increase. That was another change that I realized after the fact, was that the dragon pattern was an odd number of stitches. I should have realized it ahead because it's right there. I just didn't look too far ahead. And the go-to raglan is even number, so front and back is even number of stitches. So I had to add a stitch too. So that actually kind of worked out. And I think on the stockinette side, you can't even tell. But of course, like when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking about, I always, you just think the back side, the purl side of the stockinette is the wrong side. So I was fiddling with it on the right side instead of the wrong. It makes no sense, but yeah, I just needed to give a little more thought to that. But it's fine. It's on the side seam. No one's going to see it. And, I think when the sweater's blocked, it will, the yarn is going to bloom a little bit. Yeah. I love this. It's so good. So good. The yarn, the incredible yarn, is this beautiful Kingston yarn from Jill Draper Makes Stuff. It's 100% Targhee. It's got really great yardage, and yeah, I hopefully have enough. I think if I don't, this color is unlikely to be that different from lot to lot, so it should be okay. But I think I have enough because I had made a sweater for myself with some cables out of this yarn a couple years ago, and I bought the same quantity, and as I said, and it was a cardigan, it was like big, it was long, so as I said, I think we'll be fine. I think this will be fine. I just cracked into my second skein. Forget how many I bought, 4 or 5, I cannot remember, but it's unimportant. But anyway, yeah, that is the Tahisha Dragon Sweater on the Go-To Raglan by Stephen West. Okay, moving along. Okay, I have 2 really, really recent cast on. So this, I have another gift knit that I really don't want to talk too much about, but I do want to just show you the fabric. This is going to be a surprise for someone who I know watches the program, but I wanted to show you this because this is some hand spun that I have talked about on the channel. This is again 100% Targhee, some beautiful hand spun that I spun in a 3-ply DK weight. I had a plan for this, but then I ended up I was about halfway through it when I realized what I actually was going to do with it. So same color. This is good from fiber from Kim Dye's yarn called Good Days. So these are the exact same colorways. This one just turned out a little lighter. So I am alternating rows with it. And I'm just going to show you the fabric briefly without showing you. It's another bottom-up knit without showing you or talking to you about what I'm making. I just wanted you to see the way that fabric knits. Isn't it gorgeous? Like, I love that gradient, that natural forming gradient. Now that I'm past the rib, I am alternating skeins since the yarns, I have a third skein that's kind of in between those two. This is the lightest and the darkest. So yeah, I'm just going to alternate skeins so that I get more of a cohesive blend instead of like some striping. But I have to say, like, I am kind of curious to see what would happen if I just knit. So I'm a little like, am I doing the right thing here? I think I am. I think I am for the recipient. And I think the blending, you can kind of see it a little bit right there where it's blending. You can see like the lighter rows. But I think it makes a really nice melange of color from far back. But yeah. So I won't be showing you this again. I just wanted you to see the fabric of that beautiful hand spun 3-ply. I didn't do any color management with that braid. I just spun it. Divided the braid, and I had 3 braids. I divided them into 3 by weight, and then just spun 3 bobbins and then plied them. I'm really loving 3-plies, as you'll see when we get to spinning. So yeah, I'm not going to show that again. I will talk about it after it's gifted and the person has it, so I don't have to worry about spoiling any surprises. All right, I have a brand new cast on, brand new. I talked about this last time. Oh, this is another thing I need to be careful that I don't spoil, because if you are doing the slip extravaganza shawl mystery knit along with Stephen West, you might be spoiled. I might spoil the surprise if you have not looked at the pattern yet for Clue 1. So Clue 1 came out yesterday morning. He released it Amsterdam time, so by the time I got up, people had already knit a lot of it. Some people are done. I found that that after I didn't want the clue to be spoiled for me either, so I knit quite a lot of it, and then I went to go look and see once I saw what was happening with the pattern. So if you are doing this pattern and you don't want to know anything about it, if you're planning to do it, then you can either skip ahead. I'll tell you where to skip ahead to, or you can just, I won't say any, you can just not watch and just listen, and I'll tell you when it's okay to look again, okay? So you've been warned. Now look away, because I'm going to show this. All right. Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm so happy with the colors I picked. So here we go. This is what is so far. This is not all of Clue 1. This is just the beginning of Clue 1. And what you do is you do a repeat of this pattern. It's quite similar to some sweater patterns that he's made and a hat pattern that he's made recently. I think it's sort of the same idea. And then inside this area here, you're striping your contrast color. So this vivid blue is my main color. And then you're just like, the next one will be like off center. Let's see if I can. So it would be like, the next section will be between here and here. but it'll be the same stitch and everything. Yeah, really like it. All right, if you had looked away, I'm no longer showing the shawl. Instead, I'm going to just talk to you all about the colors that I am using. So this is my main color. It's a little dab. I have for some reason there was like a yarn break in the midst of this skein, so I ended up with a little one and then a medium-sized one. But these are one skein. This is the Periwinkle Sheep, which she's up in Albany area of New York State, so not too far from me. I actually bought, I'm just looking for, I have all my tags. Yeah, here we are. Periwinkle Sheep. I bought this at a yarn shop called The Warm You, and so this beautiful, vivid periwinkle blue is the Warm You colorway, so exclusive to that shop. And I had bought this color in DK, and I made a sweater out of it. And then I had bought 2 skeins of fingering weight just in case. Like, I was worried that, sorry, my nose itches. I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough DK to make a sweater. So I bought 2 skeins of fingering weight so that I could fudge a little bit if I needed to. And I ended up not needing it. So this has just been sitting in my stash for quite a while. So it's a 100% superwash merino sock weight. So that is color 1. The 2 contrast colors that I'm using are these 2. So this is this, you can't even tell, but it is a neon yellow. This is from Trey Liz, and it's this colorway called Lemon Zest. Here's her tag, Trey Liz. And it is a merino single ply on what she calls Zeus. She actually wrote it as lemon incest, but I'm pretty sure she meant lemon zest. She's a Greek dyer, so I'm not sure that, yeah, lemon incest just is such a weird name. And this last one that I am using this time is from Garn Story. It is called Piccadilly. So I was really pleased to use, these are all deep stash. Gosh, I hope that bird's not too annoying. It's kind of annoying me, but I hope it's not annoying to you. I almost want to go close the window. Yeah, so Garn Stories, Piccadilly. There we go. It's beautiful, bright green with teal green, so it really matches the this color quite well. And it's got some purple in it too. And in this clue, we don't use the 3rd color, but I will show it to you anyway. It is this another Garn Story yarn from Germany. And this is called Cosmic. This is one of her most popular colors. She has a lot of this in her shop. I mean, she has this in her shop frequently, I should say. Not that she has a lot of it. I think it sells really fast, actually. So yeah, this has been a really fun little knit project. Really fun and enjoyable. I just really want to get it done now. I want to try to keep up. I don't know if I'll be able to because I think I'm worried. I'm worried that I'm going to get sidetracked by a sweet little girl who's coming along soon. I'm just having some mineral water with a lime in it. Am I done with knitting? Pretty much, yeah. So let me tell you about spinning now. How am I doing? Oh, good. I'm doing good on time. So last time I talked to you about the fact that I talked about this yarn, which is what I'm using for my Spark cardigan, and I mentioned that a viewer had commented that I should just try fractal, and that I would probably, the implication was that I would have gotten the same results. Instead, I really heavily color managed this, and one of the reasons why I heavily color managed this was because it was 2 braids that were 2 different colors. They were similar colors, they were complementary to each other, but they were different. So one had gold in it, the other one had red in it. And so I was doing a lot of like color management, trying to create this gradient, sort of this dream state, like Spin Cycle's dream state. I was trying to create that gradient where you get a lot of color transitioning in your yarn. And a viewer had written, you should just try fractal spinning. And I was like, I didn't realize that there was that you could do a 3-ply fractal So I went to this book here, Yarn of Texture, that I purchased a while ago by Jillian Morano, where she explains like many different ways to spin yarn. And she did this example. This is fractal. So A is fractal, and then this is the way it knits here in C. And then B is spinning it straight out of the braid with no color management, and then that's the way it knit there. And so this is like very defined stripes, where this one you get more of the color transitioning thing happening. These are both 2-ply though, and in here, so she talks all about, there's a lot of different ways that you could manage your color. So I'm just going to show you this braid here. So braids often come like that, and you can do, a lot of different ways. Fractal spinning is, so what she has all of these examples of 2-ply, but she says that you can do a 3-ply if you want to. You can use the same techniques. So when you fractal spin, you have a braid like this one. This is a new purchase of mine. So you have a braid. You uncoil the braid. You end up with a strip. Let's see if I can just pull out the end. Yeah, there it is. So you would unbraid it. You'd have a strip like this, and then you can start separating it. So to do fractal, you would pull the braid apart if you were doing 2-ply into the entire length of the braid. Then you would spin one half end to end, and then the other half you break apart in any amount, 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 5, whatever you want. If you're doing multiple plies like I am, a 3-ply, then you would divide each one. So if I did 1, 2, 4, for example, so each one doubles, right? Or you can do 1, 4, 8, so that from 4 to 8 it's doubling. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do fractal. So that's what makes it fractal, because you're doing this math. You're doing these equations, these fractions of, each one is a fraction of the next, and it's a predictable fraction. So I was working last week on a braid from Melanated Boho Babe, Amanda Solomon, and it is 100% merino. It had 4 colors in it. It had a beautiful minty green, a rusty brown, gold, and purple, like pretty vivid purple. So I went ahead and did fractal. I did one braid. I divided it in 3, the braid in 3. I did 1 strand end to end. The other one I broke into 8 and then 16. So I did 1 end to end, 8 parts, 16 parts. And this is what I got. I went ahead and caked it so I could see if I was going to get some color transitions happening. And I did. I actually am pretty pleased with it. So that compared to this one, which I heavily color managed in not a fractal way, in sort of a more way that made sense to my brain, instead of doing like a fractal. And again, I talked all about this on a video that you can watch on its own. It has its own episode. It's 81 and a half. And I actually think the viewer is right. I think she was right. I probably should have just done a fractal spin, though I don't know how I would have reconciled the 2 color differences in the braids. So yeah, that, I think I probably could have come close, though, like maybe just by sort of mixing them in a particular way. But yeah, worked. I think it worked. I really like it. I think I need to keep trying some different versions of it, which I am actually in my next spin, which is going to be, yes, I have a bat. So a bat of wool is one that's been put through a drum carder, and a drum carder is like this round thing that has combs on it, and it just like sort of combs out straight all of the fiber. So I'm going to just show you this. So it came in a much bigger chunk than this. So I decided to, usually like bats are very mixed types of fiber. So you can kind of see how it's combed pretty much. All the fibers are going in the same direction. And then you can also see that there are a lot of layers in there. And that's typical of what happens in a bat. So I have this bat that I got last year right around this time from Frost Yarn, Nicola Frost Yarn. Nicole Frost is actually her last name. And I decided to do another fractal type spin in that I was, so the bat was laid out with this sort of orange color, and then there was this red color, and then after that was all blue, like this purple and blue. So this is pretty much the order that the bat was laid out in. Like this, like so. And it was very big. So I split in 3 chunks. Like I split the whole bat, I laid it out. It was probably like 2 feet by 4 feet. And I just split it in 3 parts first. So orangey rust, reddish blue, and then blue. And then each of those I divided again by 3. So the orangey rust got divided by 3, the reddish blue got divided by 3, and then the blue, the bright blue, got divided by 3. And then from there, I spun 1 bobbin in order. So orangey chunk, red chunk, blue chunk. The next bobbin I'm actually spinning right now. In it, I have divided each color section into 2 parts. So, so then I'm doing orangey red, purpley red, reddish purple, orangey red, reddish blue, and then blue. Let's do it that way. So it's orange, red, blue, orange, red, blue. So I went orange, red, blue, orange, red, blue. So it's like 2 repeats of those colors. So the first bobbin's 1 repeat, the second bobbin's 2 repeats, and then the third bobbin will be 4 repeats. So it'll be orange, red, blue, orange, red, blue, orange, red, blue, orange, red, blue. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I should get the same type of color transitioning that's happening here. I mean, this is 4 colors instead of 3, but there's a lot going on in these bats. I've realized too, like this, I'm a relatively new spinner. I've only been spinning a little over a year. So I'm still learning. So I appreciate those of you who take your time to educate me, take some time to tell me. This is the first bobbin, by the way. You can see all the blue on the outside. I started with the orange first. So there we go. And it is a mixture of merino, Polworth, bamboo, silk, nylon, and Angelina. And the colorway is called teal and terracotta clips. Yeah, so I've realized that I don't love bats. Bats are okay. I mean, they're fun, they're different, but I think for the type of spinning, so I'm trying to spin yarn that I want to knit with. And I think bats are really good for art yarn, like if you're making art yarn, but I don't knit with art yarn. I have in the past. I've made some novelty sweaters and novelty accessories and stuff, but it's not a yarn that I am pining for. I mean, when I'm ready for one, I have a spinning wheel, I can spin some, but I really think bats are more, as far as I can tell, and again, I'm a new spinner, newish, but as far as I can tell, bats are maybe better for art yarn because there's some stuff that happens in there, like this one doesn't have a lot, but some bats have lots of nubs and neps and stuff, and those things, when you're trying to make a smooth yarn to knit sweaters and shawls and hats with, they're not so handy if you're trying to make like a DK or fingering weight, which is mostly what I knit with. So now that I know that, I mean, I don't have that many more bats in my stash. I have a couple more. Some batlings that are from Stitch Together Studio, which I'll use. But batlings tend not to have as much stuff in them. They tend to be more narrow in the content. So yeah, I've learned that I really like combed top and braids. So with that, let me get into my stash quisitions. and we'll wrap this up. So I already spoiled and showed you this braid that I bought. This is from, both of these actually are from Bay Street? Yeah, Bay Street Yarns. So Bay Street is a yarn indie dyer who recently learned how to spin herself, and so she started to dye fiber, and she had a sale. It was her anniversary. I don't remember if it was, I think it was the second, and maybe it was her birthday. Anyway, there was a sale. It was like a 20% off sale. So I picked up these two braids, which are 100% Targhee. I actually thought that I really, really, really love this one with the pink in it and the rust. I just think that's so beautiful. Excited to spin it. But I also thought that I could put these two together and make, you know, enough for a sweater, or a contrast color at least in a sweater. So that's why I bought the two of them, because they're similar. They are complementary to each other, and yeah, I think it would be really cool. So that is something that I'm thinking about for another day. I also bought, stick with spinning for the moment, I bought some John Arbon. There was a yarn festival, so pandemic's on, but yarn festivals are all virtual. And so they were offering these shop specials. So these two comb top, 100 grams of comb top each. And these are a unique British, they also have really funny names. They named them after old apples. So this one is actually, this pinky one is called Slack McGirdle, which is apparently the name of an apple. But anyway, you can see the blend there. It's a 40% Devon close wool, 40% Romney, and 20% Exmoor Blueface. I just love the colors. They were so pretty. So yeah, I will get those spun at some point. The interesting thing about, so first of all, to buy wool as comb top is so much cheaper than buying it as yarn, even from a mill. And that's, so it's like remarkably cheap. I probably spent almost as much to have them shipped here as it cost to to buy them. Yeah, I mean, each of those were about less than 7 pounds, British pounds, so around $10 per 100 grams. So that's really cheap and beautiful. But they also, the cool thing about John Arbon, if you're not a spinner, is that those comb tops were also spun by them into yarn. So if you liked that, if you wanted to, you know, pick up the show special and you're not a spinner, you could also buy yarn from them. But I don't know if they still have that, because those were show specials. But I thought those might be good complementary yarns for like contrast colors and some color work, some type of color work or something. So yeah, so that is all my spinning and spinning acquisitions. I did get some yarn, so I first want to show you this one. I ordered some green yarn because I decided, I got in my mind, in my head, that I wanted to make a green sweater. I was like, oh, I really want to make a green sweater. I picked the pattern already. I know what I'm going to cast on. I may not cast it on until December or January at this point, because I have some gift knitting that I need to get done, and I have a Christmas sweater plan that I'm going to show you in a minute. But anyway, yeah, so I bought some green yarn. I went on to Isolde's website and I picked up some beautiful green yarn. It's beautiful, right? It's from Rama. I bought the Phenol PT2. Yeah, you don't have to adjust your screen. It's not green. It's blue. I put in the wrong color number. And I got blue yarn, not green. Oh my goodness. I messed up by 1 digit. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful, like, sort of blue jean color. Beautiful heather blue. Rama came out with this yarn in a heather colorway, so you could see like the beautiful black gray shading that's happening in the yarn. It's really beautiful yarn. It feels great. I have not ever knit with this yarn before. I've been super curious about it though. I've been wanting to try it. It is Norwegian. It's a Norwegian yarn brand. And yeah. As soon as it came and I realized that it was my mistake, not theirs, I reordered. So I have the green yarn en route, and I ended up, because I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing a color work yoke in black and white. I went ahead and ordered a skein of black and a skein of white to do out of the same, because I was going to use some black and white that I have on hand that is from Green Mountain Spinnery, but I thought I'm going to just get a skein of those and have them sent. So yeah, I have a sweater's quantity now of this beautiful heather blue. Don't know what I'm going to do. I know I could return it, and they're, because Isolde's shop is awesome. They're just, their customer service is fantastic, and they want to know about things like this, especially if the knitter is unhappy. And I'm not unhappy. This is also like really affordable yarn for me anyway. Like, to me, I think the skeins are, I want to say they're like they're less than 10 pounds each. So it's like pretty affordable. I know I didn't pay more than 50 pounds for all. I have 6 skeins. I know it was less than that. So, and even with shipping's pretty good. So I'm just going to keep it. I didn't tell them. I just reordered. And so the green is on its way, and it's fine if it takes time. Because again, I may not cast on until January, but yeah. User error. It was user error. Okay, let me talk to you about my Christmas sweater, because my Christmas yarn actually arrived right before I started recording. So I want to show it to you. I got 2 new colors from Amy of Stranded Dyeworks. I picked up her Christmas colorway from last year, which is called Gingerbread House. It's so cute and so pretty. Very happy. I'm probably not going to use this for the Christmas sweater. I just felt like I needed to see it and try it. And then I also picked up a small batch. She made a small batch of these that are called Christmas is Canceled. So this is like based on her regular color. Her new Christmas color, which is Zooming Home for Christmas. This was a mess up. Like, she messed up a part of the dye process for this and ended up calling it Christmas is Canceled. So, but I love it. It's going to look great with, I think I talked about this last episode. I'll just rehash it. My Christmas sweater is going to be made out of this really pale buff pink color, peachy pink, from Amy, called Patisserie. But look how good that's going to look. It's just going to look so good. I'm so happy with it. This one is, compared to Zooming Home, I think the plum, this like purpley plum and this green are toned down. They're more muted than what her Zooming Home colors had. So yeah, so this is going to be my, I'm going to do a color work shifty, and I'm going to be working in these Christmas colors. I also have a little dab of this color called Holly Drama from Lavender Loon, and then this green down here is from Garden Story, and it's called Grinch. So those are going to be my Christmas, that's going to be my Christmas shifty, which I'll be casting on in a bit when I have something cast off. Like when I finish the mystery knit that I can't talk about, or the dragon, I will cast on this. So hopefully those will be done soon. And I think I'm going to start with this. So this will be up here. I think I'll start the pattern with this, then use the Grinch, and then go to the Holly Drama, and then repeat. Should be fun. This is very pretty, but these like pale, this area here, that would just be too blendy with the patisserie. So that's not going to happen. Oh, and I got some other special stuff too. I really love, like, I'm such a sucker for the one-offs. Like, when indie dyers or indie makers make something and it's exclusive, one of a kind, just for this just for this event, yada yada yada. I get really excited about those and end up purchasing. If I know what I can make with them. Like I tend not to buy just to stash. I usually tend to buy except for when I make mistakes and buy blue yarn. That's just for stash because I have no idea what I'm going to make with that blue yarn. But this yarn, I thought these would make really lovely hats for Christmas gifts. So this is this super soft, beautiful yarn from Moel View Yarn. They are in, where is she? She's in UK. I can't remember from where. Wales, North Wales. I knew it said it on the tag. I just had to find it. So this is a new yarn that she recently launched, and she dyed naturally. And she had about 8 colors that made a gradient. So there was one that was very creamy and had a lot of black in it, and a little bit of this madder root rusty pink. And then they went all the way over. So I ended up pulling out. So I didn't get first pick because other people had already purchased. So like that first color that I just described was sold out. So a lot of the colors were sold out. So I had to just pull 1 or 2 that were in the gradient. So I think this was towards the darker end. These were both kind of in the middle somewhere. And what she'd done was she'd taken a poem and named each colorway a line from the poem. So this one is, I shall smile when wreaths of snow, and this one is fluttering from the autumn tree. But they're so beautiful and so romantic. I think they would make a really nice hat. They're made out of, they're DQ8. They're 40% alpaca, 40% merino, 20% silk. So yeah, these are destined to be some Christmas gift hats, some hat knitting that I'll be doing. Oh my God, it's so pretty. It feels so good too. And then Starlight Knitting Society, which if you followed along with my shifty, I bought the main colorway from Spin Cycle Yarn, main colorway from Starlight Knitting Society because it was an exclusive color to Starlight Knitting Society. Starlight Knitting Society is very close to Spin Cycle's mill. They are in Portland, Oregon. And Starlight Knitting Society is the exclusive seller of what Spin Cycle calls ish tints, meaning like they have seconds in their dye lots. Like the dye lots don't match. They're sort of the color, but not quite. So I picked up a couple ish tints in their last ish tint sell-off. Really like them both. So that's what I'm saying, ish tint. So these are 2 that I purchased. So I just purchased these, again, not really, not with any particular plan, but just to have in my stash because Spin Cycle yarns are so perfect for color work when you want color work transition. So I just picked a couple of these single skeins up. This one is Summer Love, this gold one. So pretty. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they don't go with the colors quite the same. And this one is Castaway. So yeah. It's so hard to shop that sale. So if you decide you want to do the same, they're the same price. It's just that they're special. What's unique about them is that they're unique batches of those colors. If you decide you ever want to shop it, you have to be very fast because otherwise you won't get anything. Like a lot of it was sold. I logged on immediately, like right when the sale started, and by the time I was ready to check out, pretty much everything was gone. So I really just went by name. So I sort of just was like, well, I like Summer of Love normally, so I think I'll just get this one. And I really wanted some neutrals, so I'm very happy with what I ended up with. And I knew Castaway was mostly a neutral, but there were like 4 versions of it, so I just picked one and ordered it. So there's no time, like the way their website is set up, it's really hard to see. Like the colors are such tiny boxes, and when you click on the color, it doesn't always fill the box, the big box on top, if you know what I mean, like on the website. So it was a little difficult. And plus, you don't want to take time. Like, you can't really, you just need to look. Like, you need to know, like, more or less what colors you like and then grab. And if you're looking for a sweaters quantity, good luck. Good luck. Because there's not, it's, you know, it's small batches because they're small batches of mistakes. I think I'm done. That's everything I have for you this week. That was a lot. It felt like a lot. It's over an hour. Oh no. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for spending time with me this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my episode, and hit the thumbs up and like and subscribe if you want. And yeah, let's talk again in a couple weeks. I hope I have some baby news for you. Maybe even a picture. We'll see. All right, have a great next couple weeks. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.